Welcome. This is a great turnout. Thank you very much. We really appreciate having everybody turn out like this. We have a few announcements. The board has been very busy since the last meeting. We had a long retreat where we looked at what we've been doing and what we want to do. And you're seeing some things that are working and some things that weren't. We were trying to save paper by doing a half-page agenda, which didn't quite work out at the printers. So again, something in, we have a lot of our board members are either missing or sick today, but we still have a couple of openings on the board. So we've already got one person who's shown interest. Anybody who else is interested in joining the board, you can either speak to me or speak to any board member. In addition to this meeting, we have a board-only meeting, which is every other month. So it's not a huge time commitment. Otherwise, you're active in what you want to do, not on what we want you to do. Since the last meeting, we did submit a letter to the council in support of the nomination of North Union Avenue Greenway onto the Historic Register. That's being managed by the Historic Tacoma, and we're just showing our support. If anybody has an issue that they want North End Neighborhood Council to support or go on record, again, just reach out to me or reach out to one of the board members. And so saying, I'd like to now introduce Karen DiNicola, who has an issue that she wants to address to the North End Neighborhood Council and perhaps some of you. So, Karen.
Thank you, Peter. My name is Karen DiNicola, and I have been your Environmental Services Commissioner for coming on 3 years now. And I'm talking to you tonight because we have a new director of the Environmental Services Department, which comprises three pretty important utilities. Your wastewater, so your sewer utility, the stormwater utility, and the solid waste utility are all part of environmental services. So when you hear Tacoma Public Utilities updates, those are for other utilities, not for these three utilities. And the role of the commission is to provide policy and budget recommendations to the director and staff in the work that they're doing. And your rates tend to go up 6 to 8% a year on those, and we try to make sure that the ratepayer money is spent as well as possible. We have a new director, Dr. Ramiro Chavez, who just sent out an announcement that he is discontinuing the commission. And that came as quite a surprise. And there are a lot of unanswered questions about why that is so. I think it's very important for all of the departments in the city to have some sort of citizen input advisory oversight. And it's my personal opinion that it should not be at the director's discretion to have a commission or not. I think that the city council should oversee the commissions that oversee their departments and provide this kind of input. So my request is that if you agree that that's true, if you would be willing to contact your council member, whether it's Councilmember Hines or Councilmember Rumbaugh, and perhaps also Mayor Ibsen, and let them know that you would like to make sure that the Environmental Services Department continues to have a commission and continues to have strong ratepayer residential representatives bringing your interests to the table. So, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. We only got Karen's communication today, but it's pretty evident within the board that we will, as a board, will be taking a position. So we will send that letter in as recommended, and we would urge anybody else with similar thoughts. We're changing the order. Alyssa from Parks is going to come up first. She's got to get to another neighborhood council meeting. So,
thanks for letting me jump ahead, guys. Other liaisons, because I do have to go to South End tonight too. So I'm Elisa O'Hanlon-Regala. I'm with the Parks. I do the long-range planning, and there are 4 things that I thought I would highlight for you tonight. It is February, right? It's full of holidays like Valentine's Day and President's Day and Lunar New Year. So we had celebration of Lunar New Year at Eastside Community Center yesterday, actually, and also on the 17th. The monkey shines always coincide with Lunar New Year. So we'll have an event at Titlow where we'll talk a little bit about Lunar New Year and monkey shines and some tips on how to go searching for monkey shines in our parks without ruining our parks. And it's also a volunteer cleanup at Titlow that day on the 17th. So share those tips with people you know. It is Black History Month. This Saturday, there'll be a luncheon at People Center to kick things off daily. In the evenings in particular, there's kids activities, a daily trivia question. And on the 21st, there'll be a carnival for families and people of all ages at People Center to celebrate Black History Month. Youth sports. You may not know this, but 2 sources of data tell us that youth throughout Pierce County and Tacoma, only less than 20% of them get the recommended physical activity a day of 60 minutes a day of physical activity. Less than 20% of our youth are getting out there. So, and that can just be walking, right? That doesn't have to be an organized sport, but to help encourage our youth to get out there, we started this year partnering more closely with Tacoma Public Schools. So every season, as well as Tacoma Public Schools offering the traditional sports, we offer some additional extracurricular activities. And flag football is something that's being offered this winter session. It's a fairly new sanctioned sport with the WIAA, Washington Interscholastic Athletic Association. So we, as other communities are doing throughout Washington State and getting their kids involved in flag football, we want to get our youth involved in flag football and just overall, right? Trying to offer more opportunities with Tacoma Public Schools to get our young people out there and encourage that physical fitness. And as a note to that, this also puts more demand and increase on our fields. And notice, it's dark outside this time of year and cold. And did you know that less than 15% of our fields across the community have lights to provide that extra time outside? So as we increase the opportunities, the programs for youth to participate in, we're also is impressed upon us of the importance of expanding lighting and artificial turf so that we can have year-round activities. And that's my segue into, last time I noted that the park board would be considering placing a bond package on the April agenda. In fact, they did vote in favor of putting on the April 28th ballot a proposal to the voters to fund a bond package for the next 6 years. The details of that I will bring to you next month. So for a teaser, if you want to go to the website, there is information there, but look forward to facts and information next month and all your questions about that bond package. Any questions tonight? Very good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alyssa. Our plan would be to have that as actual item rather than just a liaison report. We will have the discussion of the bond issue, I'm assuming with a PowerPoint and everything. So that's... Okay. Okay, next up, police. I know that the acting police chief gave a comment the other day that they want to meet us before they need us, or the other way around. So please always come to see us each month. We really do appreciate that. We do feel that we know you because you come to these meetings. So as Kristen isn't here, she has to send two in her place. So you're up.
She sent me, but I wasn't tall enough to fully fill in. So, hi, my name is Matt Verkulen. I am the sergeant for the North End Community Policing Division. As you said, Kristen's not here tonight. Luke Wallen is still borrowed from us, so we actually have a new temp filling in. I know Philip Sesko was around for a better part of last year, and Steve Butts here will be filling in until we get Luke back at some point in time. But he brings a lot of experience. He's been doing this in the South End for probably the last 6 years. So if you guys are reaching out to any of us in the North End, it will be Kristen or Steve that you're reaching out to and you hear back from. So, and if you have any problems with them, which I'm sure we won't, then you can contact me. So I had just two things that I wanted to touch on, and then I'll pass it off to Steve. The first one was, I just wanted to, in case anybody hadn't seen the media release that we put out, that we took a male into custody. It's been, I think it was the 20th of January here, regarding elderly female purse snatching, armed robbery, and such that was taking place. So we did round them up. I know we had received several questions and concerns regarding that. He's been arrested and being charged with 47 different counts of crimes with that. But also with that, I just want to kind of remind folks, when you're getting out of your car somewhere, when you're just walking out of a building somewhere, keep your eyes out, right? A lot of times we see people just kind of walking around staring at their phones, which I will admit I am guilty of at times as well. However, you should be at least taking a look around and keeping an eye out for what's going on, especially when you're walking down the street and such too. So just a reminder there. The second thing I wanted to touch on briefly before I hand this off to Steve are questions regarding immigration enforcement within the city. We do get a lot of questions about this at the moment. So let me say this. Washington State has laws regulating what kind of contact we do and don't have with ICE. We generally don't associate or work with them in any general capacity. That is their thing. They're doing their thing. We are here for the city of Tacoma. We don't really get involved in anything. We don't pass information regarding immigration off. The only time we even delve into asking for immigration status would be if we have a crime that might be directly related to the immigration of somebody, which is pretty rare at that. So we aren't associated with any of that going on. With that, let me just say this too. They are a law enforcement agency, right? So if you do choose, if folks want to go out and protest or they're going to do their thing, that is your prerogative. You are welcome to do as we all can do if we choose. But it is still illegal to obstruct any law enforcement officer in the commission of their duties. It's illegal to assault somebody. It's illegal to do any of that stuff, and you will likely be arrested and charged with federal crimes. So I just want to kind of reiterate, protesting, there's no problem with peaceful protesting, but realize they're here to do a specific job, and if you don't agree with that in some way, shape, or form, we do have a court system just for addressing that, and we are not going to be there along with them. So obviously, if something major takes place, then we do get called out, so we can do investigations as well. So I can try and answer any questions if anybody has any related to that. Sir in the back. Yeah. So ICE is present in every state at all times, right? It is a federal agency, just like the FBI, just like the DEA. They are stationed all throughout the United States as they cover the entire United States federally, right? So yes, they are here, right? I couldn't tell you where they are specifically at any point in time, and I can't really, I couldn't release to you any information regarding where someone's office may or may not be, right? But they are present in this state, yes. So Yeah. Any other questions I can answer? Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah, it would not be legal for me to do, just as it would not be legal for someone else to do. We do have an obligation if we're involved with an incident in some way, shape, or form to report, excessive use of force and, anything like that may or may not happen. I mean, just like I would be if I'm responding with my coworker here, in any capacity. Oh, online. I'm sorry. So she was asking if we would be responding with ICE or to ICE if somebody called in a 911 call saying that ICE was present. And I couldn't give a direct answer on yes or no. It would really depend on what's going on. We filter all the calls and determine, how we can support the city of Tacoma the best that we can. So, all right.
All right, good evening. Yeah, my name is Steve Butts. I'm with the police department for about 18 years. And like Matt said, I've been down in the south end of the city for most of that time. So getting to see some new areas up here. We actually spent some time, Kristen and I, at the school, at the college today, meeting some people and talking to some folks. So that was nice. And then once I'm done helping Kristen, I'm scheduled to move to day shift patrol in this area also. So I'll still be around, just doing more 911 call stuff. So couple things just to touch on that we wanted to talk about. I know over the last several years, we've had some issues with hiring and vacant spots. And I checked with our hiring officer today. Got an update on that. It's one of the big things that interim, for now, Chief Patty Jackson has been pushing is our hiring. They told me today they have 6 folks scheduled to start this month. And so as of March 1st, we'll be down to 6 vacancies, which is the first time in a long time we've been under 10. So that's a big improvement for us. And a couple of things we've been able to do as a result of the improved staffing is we've been able to add a couple canine positions, which we've been lacking. And then we've been able to designate 2 positions for full-time DUI cars, which is something, again, we've had in the past. They've been hugely successful at addressing those particular crimes, and we're now getting those back again. So that's good. That's a good thing. Yeah, I heard it mentioned already, the health fair that's coming up on the 21st. So I'll leave a flyer up here, but again, it's Hilltop Healthy Kids and Family Carnival. So lots of stuff going on there. If you have a chance to go out, it'd be a great time to see you. Saturday, February 21st from 12 to 4 at the People's Community Center. Just a few things they list on the flyer. Live DJ, free shirts, free food, games, toys, and then health things such as free dental cleanings for adults and children, free blood pressure screening, free haircuts. You want to make an appointment for that? And lots of live music and fun. So if you're looking for something to do on that day, it'd be great to see you out there. That's what I have.
Big round of applause for the police. Josh from the fire department, who comes prepared with a PowerPoint.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. My name is, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Josh Slasner. I'm the Assistant Chief of EMS for Tacoma Fire Department. And you probably seen the engine that just went by a little bit ago. There's no fire, so we're okay. There's no police activity either, so we're still doing all right. So it's your Tacoma firefighters just responding to a medical emergency, doing their best work. So looking at the slide here, so I had a tough time choosing this slide, just so you guys know. First off, I'll tell you why I landed on it. I landed on it because I don't want to forget Valentine's Day. So, and I know what that's like when you do. I may have done that once, and I don't want you to make the same mistake. But I really struggled because I wanted to put Seahawks up here. But I realized there might be some Patriots fans, so I resisted the urge and the temptation. So, happy Valentine's Day. If I don't see you guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening that night. And let's see if the clicker works. Oh, Josh, the clicker does not work. That's okay. I mean, maybe it's a power button. All right, well, that's okay. Try it now? Nope. Nope. Oh, oh, maybe it did work. Or, oh, now it's overreactive technology. Tell you what, let's go back one. There we go. All right. Josh, if you don't mind doing the slides for me, I'd appreciate it. So I usually try to bring up this slide because this is your North End neighborhood and the amount of call volumes that we have. And this is what I love to see the most. I've mentioned this before, is that decrease in call volume. That means people are not getting hurt. That means houses aren't on fire and those sorts of things. So that's great news. I wish I was here though to talk about one more component regarding this, and that's a public facing dashboard. I think I mentioned that the last month, and it was thought that it would be done in February, but it's not done yet. So that is coming. Hopefully I get to talk about that in March, and I'll have the website for you guys, and you guys can look that up, and you can kind of see the call volume, click around, and do a whole bunch of other stuff. It's pretty cool. And I believe police will be on there as well, so you'll get to see kind of both. Josh, that's you. Yes. So thought I'd share some good news. We have 9 new BLS rigs coming to the city of Tacoma. This is actually a mock-up of what it's going to look like. This is the first of the ones that actually got graphed out, and our fire garage is currently doing a little bit of work to get these on the road, which I'm really thankful for because I don't have any reserve rigs right now, unless if I convert a bariatric rig to a regular rig, which I don't want to do if I don't have to. So excited to get these out and get them out in our community. You'll notice they're a little bit differently graphed. Most of our rigs are like a white and red, and our fire chief has decided we're going to kind of move into a black and red as we get new apparatus. We're not changing any of the old apparatus because that's expensive, but we are going with that. And a couple other updates for you guys. Don't have a PowerPoint for it, but I'm excited about this, and it just got approved last week. We're applying for a couple grants. You guys have heard me talk about our blood program that we have in Tacoma before, and we looked at the data from last year, and we discovered that 40% of the blood administration in the city of Tacoma is actually in one medic units district. And so how can we make that quicker? How can we get that blood on scene faster? And also have a backup unit that can supply blood to the other districts, and that's to get whole blood on that medic unit. So that's going to be located in the south end. It'll be at 4911 South Alaska, Station 8, Medic 2. We're applying for a grant. So I say all that, but we're hoping that we get the grant. And that'll be through the Multi-Care Health Foundation. So we submitted that last week, and hopefully we'll hear back by March, and if not, maybe April. And then we are applying for another grant as well. It's through Medic One Foundation. It's for ultrasound. We actually started an ultrasound program January of this year, and training our EMS One, which is our Captain Medic Supervisor rig. And ultrasound has a lot of potential and possibility. One of them is cardiac arrest. We can actually see if the heart's actually pumping blood. We can see if there's clots actually in the blood in somebody's heart. Pretty crazy to think about. And if there is clots in the blood, really there's no chance of resuscitating them. So instead of staying on scene and staying out of service for 20, 30 minutes, our crews are going to be able to identify that and be able to call that sooner, which really, when you think about it, reduces trauma on the providers, and also kind of brings closure that there's nothing more that we can do. And family too, to see some CPR done can be pretty aggressive. So we're really excited to get that going. And like I said, that we have a second grant for an additional ultrasound to kind of move forward. All right, like every month, there's a theme, guys. So February 1st through 7th is National Burn Awareness Week. And the theme this week is burn prevention in your workplace. And if you're retired, no worries, just try to apply it towards your home. So go ahead and kick it over. So a couple things we can kind of think about, like chemicals, flammables, try to store in a dry area, potentially a locked cabinet where they're not going to get kicked over and stuff like that. Proper ventilation, we all know, usually here when there's smoke, there's fire. And this way I'm going to flip it around. When there's fire, there's smoke. And so you want to have a good ventilation system to make sure that you're able to escape out of there. So that's good. That would be your workplace. So make sure that those ventilation systems, especially if you're in a larger warehouse, is actually functioning. That'll help, or even a high-rise building for that matter. Routine checks, always checking equipment. Is it getting hot for unknown reasons, that potentially could cause fire? If you are management, make sure you're giving your employees training. Make sure you have a culture where you use PPE or personal protective equipment, whether it be a respirator, gloves. We're thinking about burns, right? Safety devices as well. So like exit signs, fire extinguishers. First, I'm going to throw one more, even though it's burn awareness. AEDs, make sure you know where that's at. Those are life-saving pieces of equipment. And then practice emergency preparedness drills. Always the nearest the The exit sign you see may not always be the nearest exit. Like if there was a fire right now, I'm going through that door. You guys will have to beat me. I'll try to save you maybe afterwards. So, and of course, promote good housekeeping. Keep up on, be looking at like electrical equipment and stuff too. Make sure there's not frayed cables and stuff like that that could potentially cause a fire. And then, of course, if you are burned, what do you do? So first off, get yourself away from the heat source. Right? Makes sense. Cool the burn with cool water. Typically, they recommend like cool water for about 10 minutes. A lot of times we stick it under there for like couple seconds thinking we're good. Keep that water flowing for a little bit. That way you actually get those deeper tissues and you actually cool them down. And then, of course, remove tight items. So anytime you do get a burn, you may not notice the swelling right away, but your tissue will begin to swell. So if you have rings on, if you have like even a necklace or watch, you might want to remove those early because it's going to be hard to get them off later, and you're probably going to ruin them if you do. And then cover with just a dry, sterile, loose dressing. And the main reason for that is to prevent infection is the biggest thing. So, and then get first aid or medical help. That's me, 911. Next slide. And I always want to include police. It's for you guys. So here we have Police Commissioner Sean O'Safety. And this is in conjunction with TPD. They're helping us look out for Larry the Liquids. This is so you guys remember these things. Chris the Chemicals, Thomas the Iron, the Surface Irons, and then William the Electricity, and Christy the Candles. So actually, go ahead and flip this slide. That was more for, like I said, just a joke. Keep you guys thinking though. And this is a real thank you to TPD. This fire was about 3 years ago, I believe. This was a female arsonist that had actually set this house on fire. We called PD when we noticed the individual, and we got out there and we were able to capture, well, they were able to capture in conjunction with our department and collaboration and get this person charged and arrested. So pretty awesome stuff. So questions for me? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. So she's asking about statistics for lithium batteries, everything from like those scooters and stuff like that. What do we know? I don't have any like hard numbers. I'll just throw that out there. However, I will tell you a lot of the causes for those is one, charging devices. Sometimes people will grab a charging device because it'll fit inside the circuit, and that can cause a fire. So they recommend using the manufacturer charging equipment and try not to go with anything else. So that would be one big thing. The other thing is don't leave it on the charger unattended. So sometimes people will plug something in and they'll leave it in overnight, not paying attention to it, and then it can heat up and then potentially cause a fire. So a lot of times they have that timer. Maybe set a timer if you have one. Set it, select it, and make sure you're finding UL electric equipment. So stuff that's been tested by like UL. And for those of you that didn't hear, do not throw them in the garbage. You can take them to pretty much the, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. The recycle center. Thank you. Off of Hosmer. So, all right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I actually had to call the fire department. My wife had a fall in the house and I couldn't get her to the hospital, and the fire department was there in 10 minutes, and they were super, super nice. So thank you very much. We don't have John from Public Utilities, so Christina from the City Manager's Office.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, everyone. I'm Christina. I'm with the City Manager's Office and your liaison to the City Manager's Office. I have just a couple things to chat with you all about tonight. So first is that the city has launched a new driver safety campaign. This is to support our Vision Zero and Safe Routes to Schools goals. So the tagline of this campaign is "You Could Save a Life." And you'll be seeing posts on it on Facebook and Instagram. And if you all can help spread the word and share those posts so that we can get our drivers to slow down and be a little bit more careful on the roads, that'd be really helpful. Also want to flag that applications are open for Tacoma Creates funding. So if you know anyone or if you're involved with a nonprofit whose primary purpose is work in the arts, culture, science, or heritage. Those applications are open, and city staff are ready to help support anybody with those applications. And then I'll just briefly mention, just with the conversation earlier about some of the ICE issues, the council did request that the city manager put up a web page with all of the resources for immigration and refugee issues in the city. And so we've got that website posted now. It's a really great resource. You can find it on the city's website under just tacoma.gov/immigration resources. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina. And Jennifer?
Thank you, Peter. Hi, everybody. I am your University Community Liaison Officer. I just wanted to tell you about a few things that are coming up. We always have tons going on with the School of Music, as you know, and our athletes are back and doing all sorts of games and matches. So you can always find those on the website under the events section on the events calendar. But I did want to call out a few lectures, and one special one, our Pierce Lecture Series, is going to be next week. It's February 10th. We have an alumna, Grace Yoon, class of 2013, that will be speaking. This young grad just toured with Hosier. So if you know who that is, they are also going to be offering some master classes. So if you have a music enthusiast or someone that is fond of the band, they will be on campus soon, and you can have them sign up for the master classes that they're offering. So please check that out. The other things that I wanted to tell you about, we do have, well, I'm going to call out one athletics thing on February 3rd. That's tomorrow. We're playing PLU. I know this comes up sometimes. It's our hometown rival. If you'd like to come and cheer on our basketball teams, that's tomorrow at 5:30 and 7:30. And then I wanted to call out Stephen Neshaba here on campus is offering a lecture on Friday, February 13th on the state of the climate. So that might be something of interest. Again, you can find all of these, the details on our events page. And then I also wanted to let you know that our spring main stage play will be opening the end of the month, and they will be performing in the Norton Clapp Theater Fun Home. So if any of those sound exciting to you, we'd love to have you on campus. And thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Now we get council members. So Councilmember Rumbaugh and Councilmember Hines and Councilmember Palmer. Well, she's got a whole section to herself. So.
She can't take our time then. Hi, Councilmember Sarah Rumbaugh and Councilmember Hines, and John, if you want to call him that. I just wanted to give you a couple updates. Right. First off, I want to make sure people are voting, like that you go out and vote for February 10th for the school levy, right? I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but I am going to tell you that you should vote. We did support it. I think it's, I don't know, how many of you have gotten information about it in the mail? That's a good plan that they mail things, right? I think it's good. I just wanted to talk about a couple things. I'm on the Alliance for Sustainability and Climate Action, and it's a consortium of different elected officials from different cities in Pierce County, and it's sort of trying to work a little bit like SHAPE does, but it's just getting off the ground. It's about 2.5 years old. So we meet about quarterly to talk about how to build resilience. So some of the things we've been working on are trees, rising waters, fires, and electrification of our city and our county, and trying to work together to fill in the gaps. And one of the things that we know is really difficult for smaller cities, not the city of Tacoma and not Pierce County, but for other cities, is having staff to do some of the grants that you need to get. We had a grant that Furcrest got for putting in an electric charging station. And in the time that they got it, they lost their planner. So they had to turn the money back. So we went to Olympia on Friday as a group to ask the electeds that love us so much if they could find staff dollars to support Pierce County in helping get these dollars for these smaller cities. And so why does the city of Tacoma care about this? Because they're part of our community. And we don't just stay in Tacoma, we go places. And so we want to make sure that we have those services. One of my favorite projects is in Stillicum. They took their community center and they have it done. They got a grant to like basically power it if the power goes out. It has solar. It also has a different system so that they don't have to be online. So if there is a power outage or there's heat, you know, and their air conditioning goes off, they can run it for, I think it's 2 to 3 days without any power. So I just think that everybody needs one of those. I call it a warming and cooling center, and I think Tacoma needs a few of those. And so that's something that I really support. We need to have those places for people to go. And so I'm on that, and I'm really supportive of it, especially for the tree part. So I want to say we were trying to make sure that DNR is completely funded. They had lost some money last time, $1.5 million in dollars to give out small grants to put in trees, and we want the dollars back. So we asked, could you get those dollars back? And so we'll see what happens. We're really worried about the climate dollars. Those look like they're going to be used a different way this time, and it's okay. Some of the money to be moved to help families that are struggling. It's a guaranteed income tax credit that they actually can use those dollars for, and that's completely fine if you take a little bit off, but we want to make sure the other dollars get to Pierce County, and they're not getting to Pierce County in the same numbers they're getting to other counties. And we are the third largest, is that right? Third largest or second largest county? Third. So we are the third largest, and we want to make sure it shows that we have those dollars. And we don't think we should have to go for a grant. You should give us a certain amount of money so that we can make things happen right when we need to. So that's something I wanted you to know about, and I thought everyone in this room should probably care about that, right? So and the other thing, I kind of feel like I should give this to Councilmember Hines, but I'll mention it briefly. We have a website now set up for immigration resources, and it's for people who need it, but also for people who want to be involved. So I will share it with Peter so he has the information and can share it out with you. I know we all care about this issue, and especially for people sitting on my council who have been naturalized, who care every day about what's going to happen to them. And I want to just say it's really important that we are sympathetic and understanding about the plight of people who live in our city. And they don't all look like me, and they look like other people who sit on my council, and I want to be really understanding and compassionate to them because they are working their butts off to get things done to make sure that we are protecting people in our community. They're doing everything they can. And I'm just going to say, Mayor Fry from Minneapolis said it well. He said, I'm a mayor. I fill potholes. So I want to remember what our job is, and we're going to do everything we can to help. We're going to work with Tacoma Community House to try to get them some dollars to help families that have been in detention, that have people who are sitting still at their houses. There's a member of my temple here. We're going to try to do things as well. But I know everyone in this room cares about this issue, and we might all care at different levels, but I don't think we should be judging each other. We should be working together. So that's what I want to say, and I'm going to pass it off.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, 4 things. I'll make it really quick. Number one, well, 5. Let me add one. They've undersold and underdelivered. Tomorrow night is Tacoma Public Schools night. UPS versus PLU. Let's go Loggers. Take down the Lutes. If you have Tacoma Public Schools students, they are free to come to the game tomorrow night. So please come check it out. I will be getting out of the council member as fast as I can to be here for the basketball game, as I'm not wearing my maroon today. But yeah, there you go. So that's a bonus. 4 things. Number 1, if you may have noticed, we've been doing a sole source recruitment process for a police chief, and that is Patty Jackson is currently our interim police chief. There is potentially a motion to make her our permanent police chief at our Tuesday meeting. So she's done a lot of public outreach, communications. We've had community panels interview her, and there potentially could be a motion to make her the permanent chief on Tuesday. We did not really give her clear expectations when she came on board, but if I had said at the very beginning when she started, what do I want you to do, Chief Jackson? I'd say, fill the open positions in our police department, rebuild, boost morale in the police department, and be present in the community. And she's done all 3 of those things with flying colors, so I'm very confident that if she's appointed as our permanent police chief on Tuesday, she'll do a phenomenal job. Number 2, we are in our city manager recruitment process. So in our form of government here in the city of Tacoma, we have a council that's elected by you all, and then we have a professional administrator, our city manager, who is the kind of person who runs the city. We are doing a recruitment process right now to identify our new permanent city manager. We have an interim. His name is Hyun Kim. We also did a national search. We have had countless people's apply. If you tune into our study session on tomorrow, you'll hear more about kind of our community panels and some of the process going forward to conduct interviews for our new city manager. 2. 3, of interest in North End Neighborhood Council meeting. At our January 28th Infrastructure Planning and Sustainability Committee meeting, we had an update from Councilmember Walker about trees. Trees is a hot topic here. Councilmember Walker kind of went on a road show to all neighborhood councils and a bunch of different groups across the city talking about what are we going to do about trees on private property. So as a reminder, we put in place a bunch of protections on trees on city property last year. And as part of Home in Tacoma, if trees are removed as part of a development project, there are requirements to replant trees and to pay for trees that are removed. But one thing that was left unaddressed or has not been addressed yet is what happens to trees on private property where no development's occurring. So I've heard that from many of you. We want to protect and preserve trees. I also heard from many of you who have issued concerns about the fact of like, well, if the tree's on my private property, who is the city going to make me pay $20,000, $30,000 to remove that if I want to? So there's a balance we're trying to strike. So we had that conversation on the 28th, and we'll be kind of continuing to have that conversation further. And last, certainly not least, this is a Peter Bennett special, graffiti. So if you're one of my regular readers of my newsletter, you'll know that graffiti is an important thing for me. We see it on the highway, we see it in our neighborhoods, we see it on buildings. What are we doing about graffiti? Just as a heads up, as a reminder, last year the city removed over 25,000 individual tags of graffiti and spent roughly $400,000 removing graffiti last year. So we are doing a lot. We're also trying to collaborate with WSDOT, which is where a lot of the graffiti is on the right-of-ways, to get them to help us do it. But as you can tell, it's very, very expensive. And so one of the things that I'm hoping to do in the next year is launch my anti-littering, anti-graffiti campaign called Don't Trash Tacoma, which I'd love to talk to you more about, but really get out in front and encourage people not to do graffiti in the first place, and really partnering with WSDOT, private property owners to try to address graffiti. Said 4 things. There you go. Any questions? All right, sir in the back, yes. Yeah, I mean, if it is a crime to do graffiti, so you could. No, we are not prosecuting people putting in jail for graffiti. That's a conversation that we're probably going to need to have as part of the next year or so. Seattle, last year did a big push and arrested some of the high prolific graffiti people. One of the issues we have is it's a few people. They're doing a lot of it. We know who they are. So that's one of the conversations we need to have as a council of how we want to go after it from that side. Yeah, yes, ma'am. I mean, that is something we could do. And so one of the things, Councilmember Roman knows this on 509 and 705, we just picked up all the litter and stuff on the side of the road and then billed the WSDOT for it. So we could do it. We just have to kind of an arrangement by which we would bill them and have them pay us back for it. So that's the biggest thing. We have the tools and the people to do it. It's making sure it gets paid for because it's state property. So just like if it happens on a private property building, we can't just go do it for you. Like that's using your taxpayer dollars to pay for a private benefit. Same thing with the state. Yes, Bonnie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. So I'm also on the board of the Association of Washington Cities, and we had our city action days at Olympia, not this past week, but the week prior. It's a topic that a lot of cities up and down the I-5 corridor are talking about. And so we've been pushing the state to say, what can we do? One of the challenges is how much it costs to remove the graffiti. And the state's, going back and forth around like the budget cycle right now. But, they're really big. Well, and you're starting to see a lot more of one interesting thing is we've had a lot of construction in this region for a long time. And when there's construction, people are not doing the graffiti because there's people around all the time. As those folks leave and construction ends, you see it pop up. So there's 3 ways to deal with it. Number 1, keep people from doing it in the first place. Number 2, removing it quickly as possible. And 3, prosecuting or getting people to, if they are doing it. Something I have not talked about, but I will say real quick is I'm very interested in a murals for graffiti program. So like looking at places where they're getting tagged a lot and having murals, that's been a very good anti-deterrent mechanism for graffiti. Number two, I'd love to find a place where we could have people go and just do graffiti. So we used to have the graffiti garages downtown before they got condemned and bought by somebody. If we could find a place for just people to go and not do it on the right of way, I'd feel much more comfortable about the prosecution side of the conversation.
On the graffiti, there is money. We do have a program for private property. If they want to put up a mural, we have a program for that. So, I mean, I have people in stadium. It's kind of a weird thing to get hit by graffiti, but there is a lot of great graffiti on Stadium Way. And so I've given them the information so they can reach out to staff. So we do have a program like that. If you're interested, you should get hold of this guy.
Thank you. Oh no. Yes. Yeah. It's okay. I didn't say oh no. I said, oh yes, please. Yes. Questions. Yeah. Yeah. No, we are the vacuum, the Grit City Gobbler. I forget, it was 250,000. We actually got a new, we got a new machine to do litter. It's a vacuum, graffiti vacuum. Not graffiti, litter vacuum. But we want to look further more on like how we get removed. Peter's give me the hook here. Yes.
Well, we're on Tidy Up Tacoma, so big round of applause for our two council people. I'd like to welcome up Ruby Gabriel from the City Tidy Up Tacoma program. I think she's got some assistants as well, and colleagues. So they asked to come and speak to us, so here they are.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for having us. We're with the City of Tacoma's Solid Waste Department. Reese and myself are with Tidy Up, and NENC's with Calta Hall Multifamily. She'll introduce herself shortly. Tidy Up Tacoma deals with public litter cans, the installation and maintenance of those bins. We also have the Adopt a Spot program, Neighborhood Litter Patrol, some of the graffiti mitigation, and some trail maintenance. In 2026, we would love to do a litter cleanup in each neighborhood council, which is why I'm here tonight to introduce that. It's going to be the Better Together Neighborhood Litter Cleanup. And we're looking for folks who are really excited about garbage, which I'm kind of getting the feelers that you could be a big part of this, to work with y'all and figure out what areas specifically in the North End need some more love. Tidy Up also deals with fulfilling 311 requests for blight removal. That could be mattresses, dressers, couches that are illegally dumped. But for the Better Together Neighborhood Litter Cleanup, we'll provide the supplies for the litter cleanup, and we will also dispose of the garbage. But it's just a great opportunity for the City of Tacoma, Tidy Up specifically, to hear more in depth y'all's concerns and figure out how we can work together to resolve them. So if you're interested in becoming a litter leader or just participating the day of the event, I'll be hanging around for a bit after the meeting. And if you give me your contact information, I will follow up. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Risa. And it's kind of crazy listening to the conversation this evening because it seems to tie in a lot with what your expectations are of Tidy Up, right? So there is a 6% tax that many of you are aware of that was designed to help us clean up this city. And whether it's graffiti or not, I would also like to add, before I forget, because I am getting older, that there is another option that I think is important with dealing with graffiti, right? I used to run the community service work crew. And so I've learned through that experience that sometimes taking the people that caused the problem and have them responsible for cleaning up the problem, right? So there is a deterrent, and that is a money-saving option, right? Just something for us to consider. Now going back, I'd like to mention that we have a lot of good things planned for 2026. One of those that we are really standing 10 toes down on is that we are going to be putting out 100 more garbage cans, right? For me, as a person who has been cleaning this city up one straw at a time, I thought, is that really significant? And it is. That is about 80,000 pounds annually of litter taken off the street, right? And you may be able to see that. I encourage you, you see our cans. We make them so you can see them. So when, for example, you're going down 6th Avenue, Tacoma is my home. I was born and raised here. And so when I'm driving in these areas, I'm looking all the time to see if it really makes a difference. And where there are cans, there is less litter. So that is our expansion plan for this year, and we hope to continue doing that, right? And you should see those cans in place in this quarter, right? So we're getting really close. They'll be in business districts and, of course, your neighborhood business districts, and then other areas, commercial business districts. And there are some restrictions, but we are here to answer questions. And like Ruby said, we have some exciting things on the docket, and hopefully with your help, we can get done what we need to get done. And please feel free to reach out and give us information on where you think you would like to see cans put. Right now, we have spoken for those 100 cans. Unfortunately, I was a little naive to understand how expensive they can be. But the savings that they put are phenomenal. For every dollar we invest in doing cleanup, we save $4, right, in hauling it away. So there are benefits to it, and we're looking forward to seeing how we can impact our community.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is NENC, and I am the Multifamily Outreach Coordinator for Solid Waste. Here's the city of Tacoma. So in my current role right now, one of the programs that I am supporting is Carter Hall. So quick poll of the room, how many of you are aware of Carter Hall? Okay, pretty good number. Didn't see everybody raise their hand. So for those of you who are not familiar, it's a service that the city provides to help you with disposal of bulkier household item that is no longer usable. Okay, so things like mattresses, broken furniture, appliances, and so forth. So for residential customer, I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go into the details of it. But a lot of people I talk to are aware of the residential Carter Hall. Now, how many of you are aware of the multifamily Carter Hall, which is for customers who live in apartment, a condo, triplex, 3-unit or more? Okay, all right. So you're on the commission, so you would know, but most of you don't know. So there are some similarity between the residential Carter Hall and the multifamily Carter Hall. So the curbside pickup, use all the same number to call, use the same booking schedules, and then, each pickup is 3 large items as well as 15 boxes of bag, light enough for a person to pick up. And then, the list of accept item is the same regardless of, whoever the customer that's calling, right? Now, there are some distinct difference I do want to point out for folks in the room. For residential Carter Hall, it is part of your monthly bill or monthly garbage bill. So it's built into it. You have access to it at no additional charge twice a year. So yay, if you don't know about it, I'm so glad that you're here. I hope you will take advantage of it. It's a great service to prevent illegal dumping and just more sustainable disposal. Now, for the multifamily Carter Hall, sorry, it's been a long day. For the multifamily Carter Hall, now it is a pay-per-use model, and currently the service is sitting at $115 per pickup. So that's something that we do want to point out to folks. We have received, feedback around the price point. I'm happy to chat more in details with individual who are interested in learning more about the service and different way for you to save. As solid waste is working to make the service more accessible, we are exploring options for discount and whatnot. Customer can call in to schedule the service directly as tenant or renter, but also property owner or property manager can also call and schedule the service for their property. Last but not least, I do want to share that residential Carter Hall customer can also use self-haul in addition to the curbside pickup service for the total of that twice a year access to the service, as I mentioned earlier. All right. I have information. If folks want to learn more, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we're running out of time. So we'd like to have you come back another time and answer questions, but we sort of don't have time. Thank you. Now we get to the meat of the meeting. So I'm going to invite Jeff Corso to come up, who's going to take care of the introduction and introduce our two presenters. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Peter. I just want to wish everybody a happy Groundhog's Day. I'm an optimistic and yeah, and I'm looking forward to the spring solstice. I'm sorry, the spring equinox. Yeah, I'm Jeff Corso. I've been on the board a couple of years. I live in the North Slope Historic District, and we used to have some of the most inexpensive housing in the area, and that's changed radically in the last few years. And so we've been kind of lamenting the loss of a lot of our neighbors and welcoming a lot of new ones. And so we've been paying attention to the housing policies and changes at the state level legislation and at the city level. So first I want to congratulate Latasha Palmer on her successful campaign for City Council, position number 6. And thank you, and we appreciate you coming to address the North End Neighborhood Council so early in your tenure. We know you're very busy right now. And next, I want to set the tone for the meeting. First, I want to remind everybody what the City Council's intent is for the Neighborhood Council program. So I'm going to just read a quote, that's a clause from the Tacoma Municipal Code, just to kind of set the tone here. The City Council established the Neighborhood Council program to foster neighborhood, to foster participation. Sorry, my cell phone's screwing up here. Foster participation of open communication between the city and its neighborhoods to create an environment in which residents are afforded an opportunity to meaningfully address programs and policies that affect neighborhoods, bring in neighborhood concerns, priorities, goals, and to the attention of the city, and encourage diverse relationships, representative participation, and the inclusion of differing viewpoints and perspectives that allow all residents to feel included and empowered and contribute to improving the livability of our communities. I also want to add that this neighborhood council always strives to arrange programs that are engaging and compelling. And as always, we appreciate your feedback after our programs and your recommendations for future programs. One of the reasons that I, arranged for this program is that I was talking with a state legislator who described our housing problem as a natural disaster. And that kind of set me on my heels and thinking that sounds odd. And so I started thinking about it, and I started to understand that they're hearing from the realtors that there's a housing problem, and they have their reasons for why it's a problem. And they're hearing from builders and the building association that it's a problem, and from their perspective, why it's a problem. And they're hearing from real estate investors and homeowners and renters, and they all are talking about what the problem is from all of their different perspectives. And so This evening, I wanted to arrange a time for us to talk about the perspective from the Puget Sound Regional Council, who's been telling us for several years now that about 60% of that new housing that needs to be built in Tacoma needs to be built for households who are earning less than the area median income. And currently, that's about $85,000. So we've been pretty good at encouraging for-profit realtor or for-profit real estate investors and builders to build housing for people who are earning the area median income and more. And we're been pretty good about using the multifamily tax exemption program to encourage those investors to offer some of their units at a discount, usually 20% discount, sometimes a 30% discount. But that still has only, they've been offering those housing units, they've been meeting the demand at about 20%. And we're still very short on that, given that the county thinks we should be at 60%. So I just want to mention, a lot of the times people think about these lower income households as being other people that we don't know, and they are people that we are related to in some cases. Sometimes they're adult children who are just getting started on their careers and earning entry-level salaries. A lot of times they're parents who have worked really hard all their lives. Now they're living on a fixed income. And so I just want to make this kind of more personal conversation than I know sometimes my neighbors want to make it. So I want to welcome Ty and Latasha to here to talk about some solutions, some housing business models that are more geared towards geared less towards private nonprofit builders and more towards other types of business models that are designed to provide housing for people who are earning less than $45,000 a year and actually more in the range of $25,000 to $70,000. That's the area that we're really falling short on in terms of housing. And so at this time, I would like to, well, actually, I have one more announcement. At the very end, Ty is planning to announce an initiative that he is working on with the Tacoma for All folks called the Safe Homes for All Initiative. They're planning to put the initiative on the ballot in November, and the purpose is focusing on the strengthening enforcement of tenant protections and giving renters a legal right to organize tenant unions. So he'll talk about that at the very end. Councilmember Palmer, here you go.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this evening. So yes, Latasha Palmer, your newest council member as of January 1st at large. So let me see if I know how to do this. Maybe not. Okay, well, presentation on permanently affordable housing by me to you. Okay, we can go next. All right, so a little bit about me for those that don't know. It's great to be here again, the at-large position. So you have me and Sarah and John and Olgie and Christina to answer your questions and be there for the issues that you guys have around the city. I was born and raised in the Puget Sound region, so grew up mostly in Tacoma. I kind of went back and forth between Graham and Tacoma, just depending on how my parents were getting along. But most of my life was here. I went to Bates Technical College for Running Start up here as well. Graduated cum laude through Columbia University, and did the thing, got my degree, then decided I wanted to bring what I learned back to Tacoma, and so here I am. And I currently live in Hilltop neighborhood with my 3 kiddos and my dog Kaido. Oh, I think it worked. All right, so yeah, when I'm talking to you folks, when I'm knocking on your doors like I did this summer, I hear about these priorities from y'all, and a lot of it has to do around aging in place. It has to do with preserving your neighborhood character in the North End, and reducing homelessness is a huge one, of course, and then fostering that economic development, wanting to make sure that your businesses prosper over here as well. So how can permanently affordable housing advance these goals? So first, what is permanently affordable housing? So I would define it as housing that is legally protected from ever becoming unreasonably priced for those most in need of affordable housing. So a lot of times right now you have affordable housing through like our MFTE program, that it only has to stay affordable for a certain amount of time, and then they can do what the developers or the owners can do what they want after that. Permanently affordable housing makes it so that it's affordable in perpetuity. So aging in place isn't just about staying in a house, it's about staying in a community. I think we would all agree that if you were in a spot and all of your neighbors left, it probably wouldn't feel like home anymore, wouldn't feel like your community. So I'm gonna share a little story about what's going on here. This is a video on YouTube if anybody wants to watch the whole thing. But so we have here John and Kathleen Higgins, and to help their kids afford housing, this is in the Vancouver area. There's lots of great examples in Canada. John and Kathleen Higgins demolished their family home of 3 decades to build 4 homes. So that was their original home at the top. And then here they have the 4 homes on the same lot for their kids, grandkids, and 94-year-old great granny. In 1988, John and Kathleen Higgins bought a modest 1,300 square foot rancher on a cul-de-sac where they raised their 7 children. Convinced that the typical 66-foot suburban lot was a waste of land, they began dreaming up alternatives, envisioning smaller homes clustered together to maximize space and community. After years of pitching the idea to neighbors, so they checked in with folks around them and the local officials, the couple fully gained unanimous approval for the city in 2016 to demolish their old home and replace it with 2 duplexes, 4 homes in total, each with its own land title. The new homes, 2 at 830 square feet and 2 at 1,550 square feet, or 1,150 square feet, provide a fresh start for the entire family. John and Kathleen now live in 1 unit, staying rooted in the neighborhood they loved for decades, and their sons, James and Patrick, each own a unit, a lifeline in a region where home ownership often feels out of reach. The 4th unit belongs to their daughter, who rents it to their 94-year-old grandmother, now surrounded by 2 great-grandchildren and 1 more on the way. So they're all, there's just so much more use you get out of a piece of land that way when you are able to keep your family close to you. And you can imagine maybe some of the alternatives that would have happened with the grandma of where she would have been and how less connected she would have been with her grandchildren if she had to be in maybe a care home instead of her family close by to take care of her. So again, it's about aging in place, creating downsizing options within the neighborhood, reducing displacement, supporting stable neighborhoods, and informal care networks, and enabling adult children and caregivers to live close by. The other thing that we keep in mind with what we want to keep and what makes our neighborhood a neighborhood is neighborhood character is preserved by continuity, not constant turnover. So we want to make sure that we're encouraging folks, like a lot of you, how many people have been here for like more than 40 years? And you guys are what make this neighborhood this neighborhood. And so we want to make sure that people can stay here. And the new residents that are coming in, and you guys are showing them the ropes that they can stay here. Preventing speculative flipping, supporting pride of place, and again, reducing churn and our neighbors. Preventing homelessness is cheaper and more humane than crisis response. So we all know that the crisis response is not free. So if we're finding housing that people can stay in, it helps offset a lot of the costs that we see in a lot of those programs, because it prevents displacement and housing instability. It reduces rent shock, so folks that are getting notices of their rent going up and they can't afford it, and then they become displaced, keeps seniors and families housed, and reduces strain on emergency systems. Then our local economy can benefit from permanently affordable housing. So it's not just about the houses, right? That's not the only thing that makes up our neighborhoods and the character. It's keeping our businesses supported and active. So we want to support the workforce retention. If you think about people being able to afford places that are closer to where they work, they're more likely to stay in those places, especially if you have ownership involved. Reduces employee turnover, keeps workers close to jobs, stabilizes customer bases. Again, you create those relationships with the customers that live around a business, and so we want to make sure that they can stay and keep those relationships going. And then local spending increases. So there's a couple of models around permanently affordable housing, and the kind of something to keep in mind is there are so many options, and a lot of this, even from the different models that I'm showing you 3 here, they can look very different from city to city, town to town. So it's really something that's co-created with the residents and with the city. And so one of the first ones is a community land trust. Who's heard of a community land trust before? We have one going in Hilltop right now, but it could be a nonprofit that owns the land, and then the homes are sold, the homes on top of it are sold or rented affordably on the land. So it takes the cost of the land out of the equation, not have to worry about it. And then resale prices are limited to keep homes affordable forever. And then we have limited equity housing co-ops. So in this model, residents that it could be that they originally rented, or it could be that they come together and can purchase a residence together from the start. But residents collectively own the building. And then you have democratic governance, so they all have a say in how things function and who cleans what and all of the things. And then equity is limited to preserve affordability. So the next person that comes in is, if say they sell, the next person is able to afford it as well. And then social housing, publicly or community owned, mixed income, professionally managed, permanently affordable. So the first 2 models there are usually ownership models, and then we have the social housing model, which makes it so that a lot of the time rentals can be more affordable. So again, what is permanently affordable housing about? It's about adding options. It's not about taking anything away. So we have, again, seniors being able to age in place, adult children being able to remain nearby, caregivers and workers who can live close, neighborhoods remain recognizable, pressure for speculative redevelopment is reduced. Permanently affordable housing does not mean adjusting our values as a city. So it doesn't eliminate single-family neighborhoods, doesn't ignore community input, and it does not mean rapid or unmanaged change. So it's, again, something that's co-created with the neighborhood. So time to get creative. The comprehensive plan already has a lot of these models in there. It's a lot of the studies that the city has done has called for these different types of models because they recognize that the market itself is not helpful for the lower income families, and it's not addressing that issue. And so, again, excited to kind of explore these further. This has been a very surface introduction to these models, but we do also have Caleb here with the Northwest Cooperative Development Center. All right. So if you have questions about cooperative housing, he can answer those as well. And happy to answer any other questions that folks have, and we can definitely get back to you. We also have Christina in the back with this. She's also with the city, came up earlier. And so any questions we can take back and make sure we get answers for you. I'm going to invite Ty up now.
Thank you. That was excellent, Latasha. And, thank you all for making space for me to come. My name is Ty Moore. I'm a co-director with Tacoma for All. How many people know what Tacoma for All is? We're a relatively new organization. We really launched 3 years ago around the Tenant Bill of Rights ballot initiative, and last year decided to kind of launch ourselves as a democratic membership organization. We have about 170 dues-paying members and a lot of more supporters in the community, and have been involved in tenant rights, tenant organizing, and political advocacy on behalf of affordable housing for a while. To make sure I don't go over time and get in all the points I wanted to get in, I kind of prepared more of a lecture-style presentation about both why we think in Tacoma for All affordable housing is critical. Affordable social housing is critical, and what is the nature of the challenge that we're facing in the city. And as Jeff said, I'm going to get into a ballot initiative we're planning to put on the ballot this November around enforcement, which I think is quite related. So in Tacoma for All, we support social housing and other bold initiatives to address the housing affordability crisis for two central reasons. And the first, I think, is probably obvious and widely shared, that when half of Tacoma renters are officially rent burdened, when over 25%, that's about 50,000 renters, or half of 25% is about 25,000 renters, pay over half their incomes in rent. We are talking about tens of thousands of people who are making really hard choices between groceries and keeping a roof over the heads of their families. And we know that the rising cost of housing is at the very center of growing, spiking rates of homelessness across this country and locally. The second reason, I think might be less obvious, but I think is no less important. I'm sure there's a lot of political views in this room, but I think anger at the rising costs of housing, the affordability crisis, was at the very center of why Trump was elected in 2024, is frustration at this rigged economy. And while the latest polls show these same frustrations and his failure to address them are also at the root of his tanking poll numbers, I don't think we should feel very reassured by that. I think unless our blue cities and states take serious action to resolve the affordability crisis, especially the big ticket items like housing, like healthcare, like childcare, unless we do that, I believe our democracy remains at risk because the anger at this system, feeling like it's failing, particularly young people, will continue to produce all sorts of political problems. And so I think any serious study of modern world history, of any advanced economies around the world, in my view, the for-profit housing model simply has not ever been able to solve the affordable housing crisis. The only places on earth, the only moments in modern history that as I see it, where societies have come close to solving the affordable housing crisis is where we've seen robust government intervention to try and overcome the problems of the market. And I think this is true more today, actually, than it's ever been. In 2022, the global real estate cemented its status as the world's largest repository of wealth. And that means over $400 trillion of investments are in global real estate. That's 4 times global gross domestic product, 4 times the size of the annual global economy is invested in real estate. And what that means, to kind of help people think through what the implications are, that means, the global billionaire class, Wall Street and all their equivalents around the world are heavily invested in the idea that property values, real estate, is just going to go up and up and up, that the prices of houses, the prices of rent are just going to go up and up and up for a long time. That's their big bet. That's their plan to make billions more money. And that's what we're up against if we're trying to find a solution here locally. And so I think if we don't take that sort of global picture and understand what that means for our community, what that means for policy here in Tacoma, I think we're a bit lost. So what does it mean? The One Tacoma Comprehensive Plan recognizes that we need to build 35,000 more housing units between now and 2050, over the next 24 years. But the plan basically, other than, I think, some very good points Latasha put in, there's
there's talk about more permanently affordable other housing, but in practice, the main reliance is on the private market to deliver that. But we should be clear, building 35,000 homes over the next 24 years means over 14,000 units annually. And that is 5 times the current rate. That's 5 times what Tacoma has built between 2019 and 2024. So the challenge, so that shows the challenge right there, right? Are our policies going to promote private investment on the scale needed? But I think the challenge is even bigger than that. As Jeff pointed out in his introduction, 64% of all new housing in Tacoma needs to be affordable to those making under 80% of area median income. And just think about the contrast. Right now, 73% of housing is not affordable, right? So to make 63% of all the new homes that are built over the next 24 years affordable actually means a radical recalibration of the housing economy, something totally different than we've seen over the whole last decades. So even with the new tax incentives, with the new zoning, and all the things that were done with Home in Tacoma, I don't think any of the serious city planners that I've talked to believe that that's going to be enough to meet these goals that, that the regional plans and Tacoma's comprehensive plan has said we need. Yet there is no real plan. There's some positive gestures, some positive areas of exploration, but there is no real plan for the scale of the public sector intervention that I think will be needed if we're going to overcome the failure of the private market to deliver. And that's where I think Tacoma for All has urged City Council to adopt the innovative model of mixed income, permanently affordable, publicly owned social housing developer, which is one of the, I think, many options that are on the table, but I think is the most powerful one. And we've seen from the pioneering work of places like Montgomery County in Maryland to Seattle voters' overwhelming support for creating a social housing developer and funding it to the tune of about 60 million annually last year. We've seen a growing number of communities and states across the country exploring this as a serious answer to the deep problems that not just our community are facing. And this model has a long international history and has been widely successful in places from Vienna, where over 60% of homes in Vienna are publicly owned social housing and it has the cheapest rents of any major capital in Europe, to places like Singapore, where they've had similar models successes. I think, in fact, public housing in the US used to, in the early 1930s when it was started, was built on this mixed income model. But under pressure from big real estate interests, landlord interests, fearful that the public competition was going to cut into their profits, there was a massive lobbying campaign, partially motivated in the McCarthyite era, that this scary socialist housing policy was going to infiltrate American cities, that they restricted public housing in this city to only be warehouses for the very, very poor. And that's been the model of public housing in this country. And that's in sharp contrast to the model that we're pointing forward. We want public housing social developer that is designed to create racially and economically integrated communities spanning a broad income spectrum, from 0% area median income to 120% area median income is the model, for instance, that Seattle adopted. This mixed income model means that rent from middle and higher income folks who can pay market rent cross-subsidizes to help lower income folks afford to live there. It means the money from those rents that would otherwise be going to profits to out-of-town billionaire real estate investors, that money stays in our community and is reinvested in affordable housing. Projects that are financially unfeasible for private developers who require a sizable profit margins guarantees of that before they even invest would be far easier for a social housing developer who doesn't require that big profit margin to make the investment. Social housing also allows public financing to stretch much further than vouchers and traditional public housing or other current models. Because of the combination of dedicated public financing with also a steady rental income, just like the private sector gets of market rate rent, it allows a social housing developer to do things like issue bonds at cheap rates that the city can guarantee to finance a cycle of continuous expansion. So in the long run, I think all the serious studies have shown, and the examples from Maryland, from Vienna, from everywhere, shows that this model will extend our public dollars far further, creating far more permanently affordable housing per public dollar spent than public housing does today. A social housing developer can also be a powerful and flexible tool to drive forward the city's own housing goals. So we can buy and preserve existing affordable housing and build new housing complexes. We could allow city planners to add density and affordability where it's needed most, not just where developers see private profits can be developed, and that means more chance for community input on where that happens. A social housing developer could be far more democratically accountable and responsive to community and neighborhood concerns. For example, a developer could buy and build on portions of single-family home lots, helping homeowners stay where they have, to build places for older folks to age in place. A central question, of course, though, is how are we going to pay for it, right? I think there's two answers to that. On the one hand, mixed income social housing means that once established, those who can pay market rents cross-subsidize for the more affordable units. And that means actually it can be self-sustainable, just like any private rental market. It's just instead of the profits going away, they stay here and then reinvested in affordable housing. At the same time, if we want to build on the scale and at the pace that our city needs, it will require significant upfront costs and investments from the public sector. And I think some of that can come from Tacoma. I think we can do better about progressive taxation in this city, and there's a lot of ideas we've explored. But to do it on the scale needed, we also, of course, would need a regional and statewide solution. I'm sure many people are aware, there's a big debate in the legislature right now about how Washington State is the second most regressive state in terms of its taxation. The rich pay the least, the poor pay the most in this state compared to the rest of the country. And we're talking about an income tax at the state legislature right now. I think there's prospects for that passing. But we would need to see significant influx of resources from the state and region who are in a position, more than the city, to tax those who can afford it and to pay the most. But I think, look, from where we stand in Tacoma for All, we live in one of the wealthiest regions, in the wealthiest country in the history of this planet. I don't think it's not an economic question of whether we can afford to make sure everybody has a decent, stable, affordable, quality place to live. It's a question of political will, political priorities. And I think we are in Tacoma for All are trying to build a movement to overcome the political challenges, to make sure we put resources where it's needed and not just where it's going to make money for those already very wealthy. So I'm just going to end with talking about our Safe Homes for All initiative really quickly. I think while social housing and the idea of our market alternatives are a North Star, that's what we need, we have to address the fact that right now 50,000 rent-burdened Tacomans are very unstable. And since early 2023, Tacoma for All has talked to thousands of residents. We've knocked doors, educating people about their rights, giving people resources, offering our legal aid program. But there's a very clear pattern. Many tenants are facing widespread violations of their rights, from illegal fees, illegal rent hikes, substandard conditions, and retaliation when they speak up. Right now, I just had a meeting with 14 residents from West Side Estates, which is right off Pearl Street across from Menards. You can't really see it from the road, but if you go around, it is over 500 units. I think it's one of the worst slumlords in this city. They're owned by a multimillionaire on Mercer Island. Treast Properties owns several properties around Tacoma. They face horrible conditions. And when they speak up, when they talk about the mold that grows again and again because of the drippy rooms, when they talk about broken windows that haven't been fixed despite multiple complaints over many, many months that are posing safety risks, they get their cars towed. They get retaliated against. They get threats of evictions. They get notice to vacate. There is a real, not every landlord many landlords in the city are obeying the laws, are doing the right thing, but there are definitely some who are not in a systematic way. So the Safe Homes for All initiative is designed to help address that. It does four main things. It puts tenants in the driver's seat. It formally enshrines the tenant right to organize unions. How many people have heard of the New York Apartments in Stadium, where I live, who just formed their first tenant union in this city? It was just in December. It's the first supermajority tenant union. They're asking their landlords to sit down at the table with them, but their landlords are not doing that and are instead trying to use intimidation tactics to get them to shut up. We want it to be just like labor unions. When they form a majority, they get recognized. They have a right to sit down with their landlord and negotiate. We want that to be part of city law, just like a number of other cities have adopted. We want to standardize enforcement practices. We want to replace the mandate that right now the city's current enforcement program, which I think is pretty broken. It mandates that the city director has to attempt to settle every complaint that exists. And that's resulted in the following. In the last 2.5 years, since there's been the ability to issue fines, there's been literally one fine issued against one landlord. And we know, I've talked personally to dozens and dozens of people who have had the law broken against them. And they don't believe that they're going to get any justice if they go to the city. They believe the chances of retaliation from their landlord if they go to the city are greater than the likelihood of any kind of restitution or solving the problem. And I don't think that's because the city staff, I know Chiquata Elder, she's doing great work. She's doing a very difficult job. It's not that. It's that she doesn't have the tools because of the way the city law rental housing code is written to do what she needs to do. So we want to make it standardized and normal. If a landlord has violated the law, that they will be found in violation. They'll be given a certain opportunity to deal with the problem, but if they don't deal with it in a timely way, then they will be issued a fine. And we want to make sure that this is a bad actor funding model. If you're a repeat offender and you're a large landlord, you're going to pay the costs of the cost recovery. And we're going to put in a new rental license fee structure that will target large landlords and repeat offenders to pay higher license fees to pay for the cost of the program, while we make sure that nonprofit housing, small landlords, and public housing are exempt or have a much lower cost burden. And we want to make sure there's transparency so that we don't even know how many evictions take place in Tacoma. The number is known at the county level because of the courts. We have no idea. We don't know where rent hikes are happening. We don't have data. So we want to have a transparent public database put in place to make sure the city and citizens can make informed decisions. So I'll just wrap up saying, we want a Tacoma that is truly for all, where we cannot have just a few bad actors who break the law with impunity and tens of thousands of our neighbors live in fear that the next retaliation or 30% rent hike. We think through Safe Homes initiatives and through the fight for permanently affordable social housing that we can build a city that works for everybody. So sorry if I went over time a little bit, but hopefully that was helpful.
Thanks, Latasha. Thanks, Ty. Okay, so we were going to go with 15 minutes of Q&A. So I'm willing to take any questions.
I have a question for Ty. I'm a strong supporter of social housing in principle. I've not been impressed, however, by Seattle's foray into social housing. What have you learned from their experience that is going to make ours more effective?
I'd be curious, maybe afterwards we can talk what specifically you haven't been impressed with. I mean, my impression is it's just gotten off the ground and it's a new experimental project. I know they've had some challenges with their board and they just changed out executive directors. So I know there's been some challenges there. Tiffany McCoy, who is their new interim executive director and led the fight in Seattle. I'm friends with her, talked to her a lot about. So I think she acknowledges there have been challenges with the startup. But I think I would just urge, they just barely got funding this year. Give them an opportunity to, I think, demonstrate what they can do with that. And, it's not automatic. You can have a great policy and it can be fumbled. But I think we should give it a few years and see what they're able to build with the funding that they now have.
There are already housing apartment buildings where where people pay a percentage of their income. Like they apply and then the rent will be based on their income. Well, okay, so what is the difference between that and social housing?
I think, yeah, the voucher program, I'm pretty sure that's the main thing you're talking about, where, through the federal government, funneled through the local housing authorities, folks who are very, very low income, and there's huge waiting lists, but if you qualify and jump through the hoops, you can have part of your rent subsidized based on your income level. And I think the difference is that's it's a good program for lacking anything else. I'm glad it exists, but it's just funneling money into the sort of private marketplace, and it doesn't create permanently affordable housing. It's not stable for folks. It's not long-term. It's not building community. So that's my impression.
I know lots of people have been living in these for decades.
I totally acknowledge that is also true.
Where you get money, you still need that money to start the project.
I think that the difference for me is that permanently affordable thing. And Ty mentioned the wait list, right? And so for all those that are able to stay for years, there's thousands of folks that are on a wait list and aren't. So it's a start, right? And so it's a matter of scale from what I understand with the social housing. So you have a social housing development that in itself brings down a lot of the cost, but then if you think about the effect of what that does to the other housing around it, they have to stay competitive. And so a lot of times that's a reason for the other buildings to stay competitive and bring their costs down over time as well.
Okay, I will really quickly just give a quick answer and to say these housing business models aren't intended to replace the voucher program. So I just want to.
Okay, we understand it the first time. I'm going to give you the example of Bryn Mawr Estates, which is down in Hosmer. It's owned by PCMI. I've door knocked virtually every door in that place, hundreds of units. Pretty abysmal conditions. Most people there are trying to get out. There's a lot of people on Section 8 there. They don't really want to live there, but they don't really feel they have many other options. The owner of PCMI owns properties in 6 states. Their entire business model is to buy distressed properties, basically run them further into the ground to make them more profitable, cut every corner they can. So the folks who are living in these places, their rent and our federal tax dollars that are going to the rent are going to the owners of PCMI to funnel the money out of our community and to turn these places not into nice, beautiful, co-managed, democratically run, stable communities that people want to live in and enjoy, but they're building slums. And I think that's not where I want our tax dollars to go. I want our tax dollars to go to places where the people who live there feel at home, where they have some democratic control, where they feel like this is a place they want to be. And so I think the model of social housing, will help move that forward.
Okay, I'm going to move on to another. I'm going to go over here and then over.
Thank you very much. To me, the ideal model of affordable housing can be found in New Shalishan, which is extraordinary, where they actually have LEED certified neighborhoods, by the way, where they focus on sustainability and quality of living. It's an incredible success story compared to the disaster around the Tacoma Mall, where we have laissez-faire development, where I lived for a while, and got a lot of tax abatement incentives for that disaster. My question is, this concept of social housing, would that be administered through a public development authority, that kind of model? How would it be administered? Just kind of curious.
I'm the expert on the social housing, just FYI.
That's what I would propose. There are different models. In Montgomery County, the leadership of their public housing, existing public housing developers, so the equivalent of Tacoma Housing Authority, decided and got the backing of council and some other public funds to basically act as a social housing developer, to not just push their money into the extremely low income categories, but to start building mixed income models. And that's complicated because of how federal money can flow. And I don't actually out of my fully pay grade to understand fully, but they were able to overcome those obstacles and do that. But it takes a leadership who really wants to do that, who's deeply invested, who's sort of aggressive about that. And so I think there's a lot of different ways you could cut it. If you have a political leadership at the county level or the city level who really wants to do it, I think there's a few different avenues you could do it successfully.
I was just going to mention that I agree Salishan is great. I lived here when it wasn't what it is now. And I think that a lot of the success around Salishan has to do with the amount of community involvement, right? And the amount of ownership that folks feel in their community. And so the whole idea is to recreate that in other forms of housing around the city.
Yes, so my question is, you've acknowledged upfront that this would require significant investments of funds from the state. And that is to create what you've called a permanent affordable housing model. So we all know, as anyone who's a homeowner, there is constant maintenance on a home. And our property taxes go up every year. Our taxes go up every year. So I guess I'm not understanding. To me, it sounds like not only would you need significant upfront funding from the state, but you would need that ongoing, because you can't look to your tenants under this model to maintain those properties. I mean, it's expensive to be a homeowner. And from the people you're describing who'd be in these units are not the people who can fund that. So I guess my question is, how is this a sustainable model?
It's I think a social housing model can be quite flexible. So if you don't have very many public subsidies, you're going to build deeply affordable housing at a much, much slower rate, because you're going to be relying on predominantly market rate public housing, folks making 80 to 120% AMI who can pay the market rate. And there will be more affordable housing because some of that money, instead of being siphoned off in profits, can be reinvested. But there's models where these are self-sustaining in the exact same way a private sector model would be self-sustaining, where a certain amount is kept for maintenance costs. Is a pretty standard amount. I don't remember what it is, but that you have to budget every year for maintenance costs. You plan long-term planning, just like a condo association might. To do it, and you do get, if you build on scale, you do get affordable housing that way more than you would within private sector. To build lots of deeply affordable housing, yes, that would require, taxing Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and many others like them to subsidize affordable housing on a larger scale. And I think that's what I would advocate. I think we have more than enough wealth in our community to make sure everybody can afford affordable housing. And just because our economy is rigged and some people are falling through the cracks doesn't mean they don't deserve it. So I want to see a society where, yes, if we do need to subsidize that, especially in an upfront way, we should be.
I just wanted to point out the long-term benefits of social housing as well. If we're thinking about like the voucher programs, those are ongoing, right? It doesn't matter if the building is paid off, the rent's going to be the rent, right? But a lot of what happens with social housing is after the building is paid off, then what do the tenants have to pay for? It is just that maintenance. And so there might be some upfront costs, but in the long run, we're getting off of this cycle of just dumping money into these systems that aren't solving the problem.
Right. I think we have time for one more question here.
So I think Kristen already answered a couple of the questions that I have, and I would ask you to take everything I say with a grain of salt, since I don't know where you're from or where you've lived, although I do know, Latasha, now where you're from and where you live. But I lived 15 years in the Netherlands, so I'm probably the only one in this room, I would think, that has lived in social housing, actually understands social housing and cooperative housing. And I would tell you that it's not wonderful over there either. I don't know even if we're ready for it, but I'm all for it if we can do it. And I would tell you that from the maintenance perspective question that you had, when you're in social housing cooperative, they're two different. So social housing run by the government in the Netherlands anyway, which is probably the model that most of you look at, I would tell you that that maintenance is included in your rent. So the people pay it. It is absolutely added in. And that maintenance, and if you have to have some kind of upgrades done, this is something that happens in New York all the time. And if you have crappy apartments and you want, it's because you're not letting them in to do the adjustments that need to be done. We all know that this happens. And that's something that does not happen, I will tell you, in social housing. Social housing makes it mandatory, period. You have no choice. They come, they tell you you're getting air conditioning installed, your rent, your money is going up $35 a month or whatever to make it affordable, and that's what happens. So I think if anything's going to work, my personal opinion to you is they need to have accountability. You cannot give anything free and not have somebody just do it. It's not going to happen. So there has to be accountability for that. The cooperative that I have, all of my friends in London, they literally have done this for 25 years. That's when they started doing it back in the 90s in London. And again, it's a very wonderful plan. You know, own a 16th or an eighth of an apartment, whatever. It gives you that feeling of ownership and all the rest. But again, everything is put in there. You don't, it's not taken, you're not taken care of. Even Section 8, you have something that you have to put back into it. So I would really highly encourage you to make that. That's a really winning argument for a lot of people on both sides. It really is. You have to make all people feel they have a purpose, or it's not going to work, period. And I know the area you're talking about a little bit, and it's not good. And I think that you're absolutely right. You've said some good things here. But I do think that the funding is something that really needs to be solidified, and you cannot expect a lot of Tacomans to just say, like, we're going to have taxes do this, or we're going to look for federal funds or anything else, because we do it to ourselves. I beat out in 2019 a Chinese investor by overbidding $50,000 for a house that wasn't worth it so that I could have it and come to Tacoma. I am alone in this. The realtor told me they hadn't seen that in 10 years. Everybody goes for the money. So it's not just government and it's not just evil Trump. It is us. We do it to ourselves. So please, I think that's really an important thing. Keep understanding that accountability matters for all of us. And I think that you might have a little bit more success at turning some of this around. But funding is really important. And to ask for us to have regressive versus progressive, I've never paid more taxes in my entire life than I have here, even including the Netherlands. So I'm not happy with that. So anyway, and I don't think I'm alone. So anyway, I don't know if I've helped at all, but I'm happy to have more conversations.
It's been a very long time.
Okay. All right, we'll take.
I just wanted to, I had a comment and then I also had a question. So I did hear just a little bit in the presentation you made mentioning about the ability to purchase housing that already exists. And I just wanted to really hone in on that because the most affordable housing that we have is the housing that is already here. We have what is called naturally occurring affordable housing, which is housing that is a lower cost housing that is already here, that people are already living in when we want to talk about people staying in their homes. And so having the ability, either through this program or through a tenant opportunity to purchase or community opportunity to purchase, are also really important things that are probably in the comprehensive plan. So I am an urban planner. I've worked for a long time and contributed for years to some of this stuff, not for the city of Tacoma. I was a student, but I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's really important to think about it, not just in we have to build more housing, we have to build new housing. Where are we gonna put the new housing? We have to recognize that we have housing here that we can preserve, and we can preserve it for the people who are living here now, which is what we want, right? We wanna make sure that people who are here can stay here, right? I think displacement is a huge issue all over the city. And I also wanted to share that the Department of Commerce, right? So our Department of Commerce for the state of Washington has lots of funding, right? Available for housing. So there's lots of different ways to pay for lots of different things, but we have a funding source right here called the Department of Commerce that is a really important source to think about when we think about funding for housing. So I wanted to put that out there because I noticed that there were a lot of questions about funding. So I wanted to share that information because I think it's important. And then I had a question because the reason why I came is because I am interested in social housing and I'm curious, but you didn't really say how people could get involved in this. So I wanted to ask, how can people be involved in this? Thank you.
You can get involved in Tacoma for All if you like. I mean, we have a long-term strategic vision of trying to build tenant power, trying to build community organization toward winning social housing. We considered very seriously, we were planning to do a ballot initiative around social housing this year, but without getting too much into some strategic considerations and the challenges of funding, we decided to put that off and work with Latasha and others on the council to see what we could get done at the council level, potentially at the county level over the next few years. Though I think so for us, it's an ongoing fight. We're building out a committee of people who are focused on that lobbying effort and that work. So if you're interested in getting involved, definitely talk to me. And I'm sure there's lots of other ways.
What he said, but also when you're talking about existing housing, that's my jam as well. And that's Caleb here with the cooperative housing is a great resource for that because there's so much possibility in, tenants buying their buildings and creating cooperatives and having that co-ownership. And I want to see more of that in Tacoma as well.
Well, I'm sorry. I know we could have kept it going for another probably 2 hours, but big round of applause for our two presenters. And I'd like to thank Jeff for arranging this. The question about how do you get involved, how do you stay involved, Jeff's done a great job of educating us on the board of this being an important issue and us learning about that. So let's keep the dialogue going. We do plan to have other presentations throughout the year. We know that there are other models out there, and it has been suggested that we need to have somebody from the for-profit segment to come and talk to us, so we'll probably arrange that later. That being said, I'm going to basically jump through the old business and new business and tell you that next month we have scheduled to have an update on Home in Tacoma, which passed a year ago in February. And so they have a year under their belt, and we've invited the city to come and explain to us what changes Home in Tacoma has made, and we will debate that then. So fabulous turnout. Thank you very much for coming out. And again, anybody interested in getting more involved, speak to any of us on the board. And suggestions, we have started putting what our schedule is for the rest of the year on these agendas. So you will be able to see what we're planning on, and if there's some real holes that you think need to be addressed, again, reach out to us. That being said, thank you very much. Good night.